started. Want to thank all of you for joining this presentation today. I know we had a similar repeat of this, as we had a number of interested parties that had joined last week, even though we did have some conflict with some other meetings. But I want to thank you all for joining this session on solutions that C3PAOs and your assessors can use to manage the CMMC accreditation process. As we know, a lot going on in this world right now. I'm Tom Leahy. I am the SVP of Sales and Business Development for SureShield. I've been in the risk and compliance and accreditation world for close to 40 years. My colleague and CEO, Sanjay Kumar, had a family emergency and is not going to be able to join me today. But I do also have folks behind the scenes that will be helping me to address any questions you may have as we continue the session. For those of you who have joined, let me just talk a little bit about what we'll be covering today, and to let you all know that at the conclusion of the session, all the materials, the content of this meeting, the webinar recording of this meeting will be made available to you, as well as an offer to test some technology if there's an interest. So we'll talk a little bit, as you all are very well of the current state and timelines for the accreditation process. The roles that you can play as a C3PAO, not just in the accreditation process, of course, but also in helping organizations get ready for that as well. What some of the servicing challenges may be as you're over 300,000, at least, defense industrial base suppliers begin to enter into this process, and then how you can leverage technology to help make that process more efficient and more effective. And we'll talk to you a little bit about a product that we have called PartnerShield from SureShield, a platform that can be used to help either in the overall accreditation evaluation process or in the assistance with clients you may be helping get ready for that. We'll do a brief product demo. We'll take on any questions you may have, and then there'll be an offer for you if interested to evaluate the platform. And hopefully the session today should not take up the full hour, so we'll buy you back some time unless there are any significant other questions. So again, we want to thank you all for joining this session. I'm sure a number of you were involved in the town hall meetings a couple of weeks ago. As we all know, by the end of 2025, anyone that's part of the defense industrial base that wants to continue to service contracts with the Department of Defense, and very likely, as we see in a lot of these processes, when they're adopted by one, they'll be adopted in other areas. But for those who are interested in continuing to service, they're going to need to be accredited. We're all aware of the benefits of the NIST 800-171 process, as well as some of the shortfalls with that. And obviously that is what has introduced this new accreditation system. It does, I'm sure some of you who are involved in this particular meeting are not yet yourself accredited as such. There has been some delays in getting that whole process done, and there's someone that has a microphone on, or their mute may be off, if you don't mind turning that off. There have been some delays. As you know, currently there are only 4 accredited or certified C3PAOs. The intent is to have right now there's over 187 that have applied. And these OSCs are going to need to choose one of those to help them conduct their audits and put them through that certification process. If you were to just break down the numbers as they're stated today, amongst those close to 200 certified C3PAO providers that will be coming, going through that process, if you were to average that out, then the opportunity for each one is close to 2,000 or 1,600 different providers to help take through the process. So a big need and also a big opportunity. And what will be the roles that you will be performing in? Obviously, you're helping prepare the OSCs for certification readiness. As we know, and as far as the conflicts are concerned, if you are certifying someone, then you cannot actually do, if you're helping them prepare, you can't also help them be the ones that you will certify. But you do have the opportunity to both help prepare as well as take an organization through the certification or accreditation process. You'll need to conduct assessments and audits, identify where there's gaps in what is required and what might not be met, and in some cases help provide guidance to close those gaps, and most importantly, assure the proper protection of this controlled unclassified information, or CUI. And for those who are working with you as an accreditor, you will need to provide obviously that seal or certification of accreditation for them. So what obviously gets into some of the servicing and scaling challenges that may be available, or part of that, as we just discussed. The opportunity, obviously, depending on how quickly you're out there and how quickly you're able to promote and market your services. As we said, on average, with 300,000 in DIB, that's close to 1,600 clients potentially available for accreditation and for assistance in preparing them. So to do that, you'll need to have obviously some very repeatable and efficient tools and processes to be able to scale and take on that volume of clients. You'll want to make sure that you have ease in collaborating, distributing work at both the C3PAO level, at the OSC level, and also at your assessor level, depending on how that process will move forward. And ideally have tools that can allow you to centrally manage all the clients and the services that you're providing to them. As we mentioned earlier, as an accredited C3PAO, you still have the ability to actually do assessment and consulting services for them in lieu of taking them through the accreditation process. So you'll want to have ways in which you can easily manage the process, store the information, evaluate the information you need to take them either through a certification process or prepare them for that, and help them easily see where compliance gaps may be. And then having efficient reporting tools. And I'm sure much like NIST 800-171, which you're all familiar with, there will be basically a validation or scoring to some degree criteria in order to provide your OSCs with that accreditation certification seal. And so you'll need to have tools that can help you ultimately do that. So how can technology help you with that? Technology can help you in a number of ways, and specifically some solutions that we have from SureShield that we'll go into. One, in helping conduct the audits. Auditing a client at any CMMC maturity level. As you know, there are 5 different levels, and depending upon the type of services that particular supplier plans to do, they're going to need to be validated and certified at a specific level. So you'll need to have ways in which you can do your either assessments and or your accreditation process at the level of that provider's needs. Obviously, be able to help them identify compliance gaps, potentially leverage software that can identify CUI data in an OSC environment, and then make sure that that data is properly protected, which is a critical component of this whole process. And then have tools that can help in scoring and validating that accreditation process. So briefly, before we get started, I'm just going to take a short little poll. and ask if you currently, of those that are participating here today, we'll only take a few minutes to, or about 30 seconds to go through this. For those of you that are attending this particular session, do you currently have software to help you in the accreditation process? And if so, please go ahead and answer the or answer to the poll. We'll just give it another 5-10 seconds. Great. Well, it looks like of the participants we have, about a third of you indicate that you have something in place to help you with this. And then about a third or a little more than a third don't, and then a couple are not sure. So we'll go ahead and move on and talk a little bit about how a solution from our company, PartnerShield, can help you in scaling and conducting your audits. And perhaps if you do have technology in place, how this might actually be able to enhance what you already have in place as well. And we're going to take it from the perspective, firstly, of those that are will be conducting an accreditation process. There's a couple of different solutions we have, and then I will also, time permitting, show you how solutions that we have through SureShield and through the PartnerShield portal can also be used in helping get folks ready for an assessment process. But firstly, we have a solution called CompliShield. It's actually a complete, what I would call a framework auditing solution. If you are, we have clients that are using it to do HIPAA assessments, to do NIST assessments, to do a whole variety of PCI assessments, but specifically for this particular presentation, how it can be used to do set up the auditing solutions at the level of the maturity level that an organization is going to go through. It will allow you to do reporting and scoring based upon that. And then it will also, should you so choose, in many ways may be more beneficial for you when you're helping consult as opposed to accredit. But we have a solution that can actually help identify CUI data in an organization's environment, and then also assure that there's proper protections that are placed on that data and rules that impact how that data can move throughout an organization, again, helping validate meeting the requirements for the protection of CUI. And through this portal, the customers that we have today using this, we've actually had quite a few RPOs recently sign up to leverage this PartnerShield platform to help in getting folks ready and prepared for certification. Very similarly, it can be used for managing the accreditation process itself from a technology standpoint. And through this, we provide a self-service portal that you completely and totally manage. It's white labeled under your organization. So clients who come in will see their own specific views into this, and you'll have your own white label portal. You can activate, and I'll show you this, any CMMC audit framework, really at the simple touch of a button. So you can turn on whatever level it is that you're wanting to go in and do either that assessment or that accreditation process for. And you can use it to document any evidence of compliance that may be required for that. It has workflow automation, which I will give you some overview of, to help manage and distribute any and all work in a really simple manner. So you can send that out depending on what your processes are going to be, either directly to your OSCs, or your OSCs could share that information with you, or to your assessors who are going in. And then we'll give you an overview of what the reporting capabilities are, keeping in mind that we can configure and customize any type of report that will be required in this process. So with that, I'm going to pause briefly, and I'm going to go ahead and go into the SureShield portal. to just give you an understanding and an overview of how that all works. So for my folks that are on as panelists, can you just confirm for me that you are seeing the SureShield logo and the CMMC accreditation body
Yeah, sure.
logo? Great.
Yeah.
So in this case, for those on, I'm coming in as a company that is managing the certification or accreditation process, and I have several different clients that are part of that. I'm going to go ahead and sign into this and just give you a sense, first of all, within the portal of the tools that you have. And Randy, if you're still on, if you wouldn't mind muting, that would be great. So depending upon when you first come in, you will have this, what we call kind of workspace area. So there's no data in here right now, but if you had different tasks and different assignments that had been sent out to the different folks that you're working with, they would show up here in kind of a portal workspace area for you to act on. But let me just show you how easy it is to, first of all, manage customers. So you'll notice a number of tools that are in here. There's the areas to co-brand, as I mentioned. When you set this up, it will be branded under your particular company name and as well as with the customers that you are working with. I'm just going to go to this area. It's called Manage Customers. And you'll see, for purposes of this presentation and demonstration, I have a number of different customers that whose processes I'm managing. It's showing you who the overall company is that's managing those. And then in this case, what are the modules or services that I have activated for this particular client. So you can see that we've got all the different maturity levels. We also have one just for purposes of showing the crosswalk aspects that we've also activated for level 3 and NIST 800-171. So just if you are providing continuing consultation services, we'll just make a note that this product also allows you to activate for NIST 800-171. It does all the crosswalks for that, so that really when you're doing an evaluation at one level, you don't have to do it at both. It will synchronize that information for you. So if I were wanting to activate a new client or a new service, it's really just as simple as saying, hey, let's go ahead and add a new customer. I'll call this XYZ company. And without going through all the different components to get them set up, you would assign that company. You can upload the logo for that company. You can assign an administrator, a default administrator for this. And then you simply come over here to indicate what are the modules that you're going to activate for that particular client. So if this was one that I was going to do at a level 3, then it's just as simple as clicking on that, activating that, and having that ready as a process for either me and my assessors to go about and begin that, or for that customer, should I be asking them for information to do that as well. I'm just going to back out of here briefly, and then we'll just go over and pick a particular customer. So let me go to my home and give you, an overview of how that particular process works. So I'm just picking up this one that's called the Dow Chemicals, and you'll see in this case the applications that have been activated. This particular customer, as we know, is coming in at when it shows the controls, it's indicating what controls have been activated for this particular client and where we're at in that process. So as I mentioned, there's a couple of different ways in which you can go about the management and oversight process in and of itself. Either these things can be things that you're doing on your own, or you can assign them out to your assessors, or you could even assign them out to the OSC as well for them to collect and give you the information you need to do the evaluation and scoring as you take them through that process. So you see, because this had 130 controls, this particular client has been activated at a CMMC level 3 process. And I can at any time go in and filter the information I need in any way that I may want to. So if I just wanted to look, perhaps I have a group of my assessors that are going to do my audit and accountability processing and evaluation and go out and do that kind of oversight. It's as simple as picking those and then going ahead and assigning the ownership to them if they are part of my organization. I can even send them out, if they're outside of the organization, a request for a response on these. It provides them a secure web form that would allow them to go in and answer the information or the questions that you want them to do. And just to give you some insight as to what that is, you'll see if I were to just click on any one of these questions, it's then going to go in and first of all, show me what the citation is. Keeping in mind one thing in our product as well is we allow you to set the different levels of risk as you see fit for the different control areas. Now we've marked all these as high, but you may have certain areas where you want to evaluate, certain things that might be related to CUI, you rate at a very high level, and others that might be at a lower level risk. But it's as simple, if this is your assessors of coming in and indicating whether, where this stands, what the process is. And then they also have the ability to add any comments. If I were to mark this as compliant, we even give them some ability to add information as well as append to this. But you can add comments. This is a continuous process. So anytime it's updated, it will basically archive any previous responses and show you all the response history. It gives you an area to upload evidence of compliance, very important in this. And then it even gives some guidance on the processes. It ties them to specific policies. Again, depending upon how the platform is being used, we have OSCs that are using this and leveraging the policies that are tied to those controls, allowing them to update those policies and modify those policies to be in alignment with the type of work they may do. You may use this as an accreditor, as a repository to evaluate and look at the policies that they have tied to these to make sure that they're in line. So again, the point is that the platform itself can be used for a variety of different purposes. Now, as they go ahead and continue to answer questions, whether that be your assessors or the OSC itself, it will then go ahead and start to generate where you're at in those, I don't want to save these, where you are at in that process. So again, depending upon the groups that I'm working with, if I were to go find a different customer, I think we've got another in here that's called Sky Services, and Sky may have been, one second, activated at a different level of control. We have, for instance, this group Thoughtsphere, just so that you have an understanding of the utility of this beyond just CMMC if you were working with them, because Thoughtsphere has 240 controls. The reason it does is that it's been activated at a CMMC and a NIST 800-171 level. Again, if I just wanted to filter on those particular areas, you can see I've now filtered this down to just CMMC, and I could even filter it down to the control levels I want to look at within that overall area itself. But once they have begun and started to collect this data, then you'll have available to you a variety of different reports that you can run on this as well. And again, depending upon specific configurations you may need as a C3PAO. Those reports can be generated to help do things like a report on compliance, where these organizations stand right now as it relates to that. Actually, I'm going to go out into one more because I don't think there's a lot of data in here on this one. Go back to DOE. And you can see the kind of reports that would be available to come out as this one has begun that process. If I were to go into my PartnerShield reports, I can run various types of reports on compliance to show me where I stand. Again, I can filter all this based upon what it is that I want to be looking at for them. And if they were specifically set up and designed for me, then I can help me in terms of doing the types of scoring and things that I may need in order to do and validate my quote, the customer's ability to get that seal of accreditation. So all are continuous, all can be scheduled. So you can schedule these to come out on a regular basis to the people that you may want them to go to. You can see that you can schedule them. You can output them in Word, Excel, whatever these may need for you to use either for additional reporting you might be doing or processing you may be doing to complement things you may be also working with here today. So those are just at a what I would call a high level, the utilities that you have with the platform to help with the accreditation and oversight process. I'm just going to exit here briefly to show you a couple of other things that we have that may be of use, because what we have found is that a lot of our customers that are coming to us that are C3PAOs are also providing what you might call oversight consulting services as well. And at that level, they may be working in a more tight area in helping an OFC get ready for the overall accreditation process. And I'm just going to come back here to this PartnerShield manager. The same if I would be managing them within that whole oversight process. Sorry. It just gives me the ability to come in and take a look at the different product offerings that they have. You know, a piece of having a customer get ready for this is they should be doing, as you know, regular security and vulnerability analysis and scans. So we have tools that allow an organization to run those scans and get information and reports on how they're performing and where vulnerabilities may lie. So in this particular view, you can see that this organization has 240 controls because they're getting evaluated at both the NIST 800-171 level as well as the CMMC level 3. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of different tools in here that as you're answering, as you know, there's overlap between these particular controls. So if you are answering specific requirement areas, you have the ability to actually just synchronize. You can see where this says sync NIST 800-171 to CMMC. It shows me where those crosswalks are. And then if I were going to sync, I would just sync responses. So it limits the amount of redundant work that might need to be done while giving you all the information you need to provide the proper evidence of to support answers to your questions. In this example, as we mentioned, this particular group is also using our solution for doing security related vulnerability assessments. And you can see here, everything is presented again in a dashboard type of view. So while we're managing and looking at these different controls, we can also see within our own environment that we have 40 host assets that are running 567 pieces of software. And we've identified over 4,000 different vulnerabilities that might be there. and more importantly, what the remediation processes are to fix these problems. So again, very simple and easy to filter and drill on what it is you need to look at. If I were going into these host assets and I wanted to look at the ones that had the most high critical issues, it will pull those up for me. I can go ahead and click into that particular asset, and then it's going to show me over time, if I run it over time, what those particular vulnerabilities are, what are the installed applications, and most importantly, what are the remediation steps that need to be taken in order to fix these problems and get us to the point, again, for being well prepared for validating that we have good processes in place. And similarly, a lot of different reporting tools that are available within here as well. So if I were to actually go and look at some security related reports, if I were helping an organization in that regard, I can go ahead and look at things like, let's just say, the top remediation reports that will tell me where my biggest issues are, what the biggest bang for the buck would be in remediating those processes, how things have progressed over time with them. And you can see it's almost like a timeline that if I put these different components into place, what will be the overall impact on my overall risk? And again, those leading to a more valid process for assuring that I have the proper tools in place to meet the accreditation requirements here as well. And because within these types of reports, we're also providing, in this case, as we know, we still have companies or customers that have to comply with the NIST requirements. You'll see within here, we also have all the different types of reports that can be generated out of there, whether it be the system security plans, the plan of action and milestone reports, which will ultimately still be something that needs to be done in this process. And in this case, as an example, right now, because NIST has their scoring criteria, we can leverage similar types of scoring criteria you may have for the CMMC accreditation requirements and be able to generate similar types of reports. But in this case, on that assessment score level, we've gone ahead because of the scores thus far to date in this. They're running at a aggregate compliance score of 75. If things would continue to improve, then we would see these numbers change. And again, as we said, this is a continuous process. So at any given point in time, as you are updating, making improvements, closing gaps, the customer and you will see the impact that has on overall compliance. So I've kind of gone back between a couple of different ways to use this, and reason so is in the previous presentations we found that a lot of our folks that were not only going to be accreditors were also going to be offering services to help people prepare for that accreditation process. So hopefully you've seen or can see how this platform can be used in a multitude of different ways to help you in the efficiencies of that particular process. So that's the brief overview of the platform. As I mentioned, we'll go ahead and just move on now to kind of concluding the presentation. And hopefully you can see with some solutions that we can provide, we can help you manage more clients at a lower operating cost. And as, again, take on more clients, as there's going to be quite a few organizations that very shortly are going to be seeking either help in getting ready or help in actually going through the accreditation process. And as we know, while it's ultimately everybody has to be accredited by 2025, of course, the sooner that they are able to do that, then the better position they are to garner any new contracts that are coming up, because you can assume that if I'm an organization that's been accredited as opposed to someone who isn't at this point or going through the process, I may lean towards working with those that I know have already done that. So with that, as we know, CMMC obviously is here. It's ramping up. And ones that are successful in taking on more clients will be able to simplify yet do the auditing process in a very thorough manner and really help them get through that validation and accreditation. So with that, I'm going to just, while we take one more poll, as we have done with the past webinars, a number of the folks who have joined have indicated interest in actually trialing or testing out the platform. And so I'm just going to take a quick poll as we get into questions to see if there are others that are joining today that would be interested in trialing this out. What that would entail is once we have that information from you, we will be in contact. We will walk you through kind of setting up a trial account for you to go in and test drive. Our support team will be there on a regular basis to help you, with any questions you may have. And then at the conclusion of that, if there's an interest in leveraging this, we make that available to you. So I've gone ahead and opened up for the folks that are on. If you are interested, please go ahead and indicate yes or no, or perhaps you'd like to just be contacted and maybe later. And at this point, let's go ahead and also open it up to questions. I'm just going to go. Okay, and I see that someone has already posted in the chat where they can go ahead and ask questions. You'll see in the area that's called the Q&A, there is an ability to go ahead and open this up to any questions that you may have. So please go ahead and do so. And I see just a couple of questions about the solution. How do we price this? Basically, there's a cost for each client that you bring on, and we provide that at a discounted cost to you. And really, our customer in between, or you being the customer, can determine how that cost gets passed on to the clients you're working with. We found many of them just see that this provides a lot of efficiencies for them, and so actually able to get a pretty significant ROI in using a solution of this nature. Let me see if there's others. And then there was a question about FedRAMP. And the answer is yes, we are going through a FedRAMP certification ourselves. From a security perspective, we will, be going through the same processes as well. And you can assure this is all Amazon cloud hosted solution here in the United States, and all services provided by us are delivered out of the United States as well. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. One last chance for folks to click on whether they would like to be contacted to test out the platform. And at this point, I'm not seeing any additional questions. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And as I mentioned, again, for those of you who are in attendance, at the conclusion of this, you will be getting an email that will have the content to the session, as well as the webinar recording. And should you have any interest in follow-up from us, there is ways in which you can click and indicate you'd like to be contacted. We wish you all the best in this new process. Hopefully, more and more of you will be getting your actual certification as well to begin taking on new clients. And as that transpires, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to work with you and help support what it is you all are doing as well. So without any other questions, I think we've bought back some time for you. And again, appreciate all of you who attended, and hope to have the opportunity to work with you sometime here in the near future. All the best. Thank you.